really cool. And I think that kind of leads to another area that I have a lot of interest and passion in is just, is all the coaching stuff, the strategic coach. I've had the honor and pleasure now of joining that group, and you've been in it for a long time. And I've seen working with you within Agritrend, the tools and the processes that you brought from coach to the team. I've seen the culture that you build. I've seen how you surrounded yourself with advisors, and a lot of that stuff, in all honesty, I just seen the value that it had and the action that it inspired in me being part of that group, and really took that and emulated a lot of those things within our own business and created a lot of success with that. And now, going to strategic coach too. And you've been in strategic coach now for over 25 years. So tell us a little bit about why you're doing that and overall the struggles that you may have as an entrepreneur, and how a program like that has helped you do the things that you want to do.
Yeah, so I every 90 days I fly to Toronto and I review my life, my business life, my personal life. I review my life every 90 days by attending a program called Strategic Coach with a fellow by the name of Dan Sullivan. And I just started my 26th year. So that's over 100 flights to Toronto and back every 90 days. And if you're an entrepreneur or you're running a business, you are hit every day with all sorts of complexities that shake up your world. And I think that it's really important that every 90 days or so you slow down and take inventory of your life and try to reformulate your strategies and what you're going to do the next 90 days in the context of where do you want to go. So I know this may sound a little weird, Terry, but I started a plan when I was 40 years old, and I sketched out the next 100 years of my life. So I sketched out my life to the year 2100, which means I would be 140 years old. And I divided those 100 years into 4 25-year blocks. And if you divide those 4 25-year blocks into 90-day increments, over 100 years, every 90 days is 1%. So if I said I wanted to learn to speak Swahili, for example, well, that's ridiculous. You can't speak Swahili. Well, can I speak Swahili 1% better in 90 days than I did before? And over the course of 190 days, I'd be an expert, of course. So the whole idea of strategic coach is to be able to ground yourself every 90 days. And in life, Terry, and Holden, you're going to be going through this too. There are times when you have great excitement and things are going really, really well, and then life crashes around you. Boom, things don't go so well. And whether
like every time I come home and tell them to clean the room.
whether it's a disease that hits your family that you have to deal with, or death, or divorce, or financial struggles, changing marketplace, China not taking canola. Every time the world hits you with these issues, it's important to slow down and take stock of your assets and figure out, based on a 3 or a 5 or a 10-year plan, what does this canola China issue mean to your farm, and what does it mean in the context of 3 and 5 years? And will it really be that big of a deal over the 3 or 5 years? The answer is absolutely yes or absolutely no. It depends on how you deal with that strategy. So strategic coach for me, Terry, again, through the ups and downs of life, you go to some strategic coach sessions and you cry, literally. And other strategic coach sessions, you go there and you're on top of the world because things are firing. Other strategic coach sessions you go to, you're broke, you're busted, and you don't know how you're going to make payroll in the next 90 days. And I've been there too. So it's been really good for me. So it's strategic coaches for entrepreneurs. And I don't care if you're a person listening to this that is or is not an entrepreneur. there are lots of good coaching systems out there. My advice is to find one that works for you and stick to it. Just stick to it. The tools work. I've integrated a strategic coach into all parts of my life, and every business I'm involved in, whether it's Dot or writing a new book or Power Farm Group or Agvisor Pro, strategic coach is the foundation on which I build that company's strategies and culture. So there it is, Terry.
Yeah, I know, it's really cool. I think, the coach really too is it's a peer network as well. And one of the things that I always find is you go there, and a lot of times in business and personal life too, you feel like you're the only one facing these problems or dealing with these problems, right? And a lot of times I think we have in agriculture this mindset of, oh, no one understands what it's like to farm or run a farm. It's different, right? But the thing that I find really amazing is there isn't a lot of people in agriculture that are in coach. A lot of it's many other different kinds of businesses, everything that you could think of. But the reality is everyone has basically the exact same set of problems. And everybody's dealing with the same thing, right? And a lot of other people have insight. And so it's really about the peer network too. And I think that's where, the value of the peer groups and stuff that you started. We've been part of a farm peer group. Strategic Coach is just an overall business peer group. And we've already formed some amazing relationships, friendships, and opportunities through that as well. So, and it's that time, like you say, you go there, you're unplugged from everything else for one day, and you just focus on the big picture. And I think a lot of times we get mirrored down in the day-to-day of everything going on, and it's hard to see the horizon, or it's hard to look back. And you talk about this a lot too. A lot of times as entrepreneurs, we're always walking towards the horizon, shooting for the horizon. It feels like we're never getting there because we're not, because we're always setting new goals. But sometimes you got to take the time to stop. And that's what coach helps with too, to reflect back on the positive focus of success. And you look back and like, wow, we do this every year for the farm. We get the whole team in and everyone writes down all the things that we accomplished that year. And we end up with a list of like 50 things long. And we're like, wow, no wonder the odd day we feel a little tired. Like we did a whole bunch of crap and it was all like really good stuff. Right. So I think that's the real powerful part of all that.
Yeah. The lesson there, Terry, is that as entrepreneurs, you're always striving for the ideal. You want the ideal income stream. You want the ideal set of machinery. You want the ideal crop. You want the ideal herd of livestock. You want the ideal family. And if you always judge yourself by the ideal, you'll always fall short because it's like trying to reach the horizon. No matter how many days or how far you walk, the horizon just keeps moving on you. However, you need to stop and turn around and judge how far you've come. And that's why I like to every so often stop the team and really do a refresher on, okay, we're frustrated with what's not going on or not going right. Let's stop for a second and study what went right, what we did right, what went well, and how big is that list. And you're right, Terry, it's an extremely invigorating and energizing activity that most people don't do.
Well, and I'm just thinking about this 100-year plan. Like that's and I know that's something else that comes out of that, but that's really cool. I'm just thinking about Holden. Like, are you thinking about your 100-year plan there yet? You'll be 100.
Yeah, Holden.
100 years.
How old are you going to live, Holden?
I don't know. It all depends on what I choose to do. What I choose to live my life.
Hey, how old do you think you're going to live till, Holden?
Probably somewhere in the 90s.
In the 90s?
The 90s, yeah. Well, you're wrong, because by the time you get to be our age, my age, you're going to be living a lot longer than 90, Holden. I would think you'd be wanting to get into your brain something about 110 or 120.